Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. Today's video is gonna be another thrift flip / altering old clothes that I already have. If you haven't seen my last one, I will link it up here, I think, and you can go and watch that after this one. And I hope you take this as a motivation to go through your own closet and find some pieces that you just don't wear anymore because they're a little bit too loose or a little bit too long, and go ahead and change that because it's actually really easy and you're gonna give a clothing item a second chance. And without further ado, let's jump right into the video. Okay, so the first clothing item that I'm gonna alter is this pretty basic grey shirt that I bought a few years ago. And I wanted to do this patchwork trend with this shirt. I'm gonna put some pictures on the screen so that you know what I'm talking about. And I think what's important if you're gonna sew this type of shirt is that your shirt is a little bit bigger than it needs to be, because it will get smaller once you add all the new seams to it. I don't think it will get much smaller, but just keep that in mind.
First I went ahead and cropped the shirt because I didn't really like the length. I also shortened the sleeves. That's just the look I was going for, but you can obviously skip this step if you already like the length of your shirt. Then I went ahead and mapped out where I want my new seams to be. I decided to go for 3 lines that started at one shoulder and spread it out towards the middle, kind of. You will see what I mean in a minute. And then you just cut along these lines.
This is the end of side 1 of this record. Please now, turn it over for the second side.
Okay, so now that I cut everything out, it looks like I absolutely ruined it. And I'm now gonna pin it all together. You're gonna pin left sides together. So normally you would pin right sides together so that the seam would be on the inside of the shirt and you don't see it. But because we want the seam to be outside, you just need to have the shirt right side out, pin it together, and sew along the edge. Yeah. What did I do wrong? Why does it not end at the same length? Why is one string longer than the other? No, did I fuck up already? I'm really confused. It's so much longer. Can you see that? This is how much longer it is. I'm done now with pinning the shirt, and I also added another line because it was looking pretty empty on this side. So I'm gonna use black thread because I think it fits the best, but you can obviously use whatever color you want. I've seen like people do it with white t-shirts and then just use like neon colored thread, and that looks super cool, but I don't have a white shirt. I hope that it would be fine with just one zigzag stitch, but it looks kind of weird because it's not that noticeable. And I saw another YouTuber, I forgot her name, but I will link her thrift flip down below, and she went over 2 times with a zigzag stitch to make it look like a little bit thicker. It is the next day. I didn't finish the shirt yesterday because I was too lazy and it started to getting real dark. So sorry, let me cut the so I don't know up to when I filmed yesterday, but I finished the second row of zigzag stitch on all the seams, and I also cut off the extra fabric.
Then I went ahead and cut out where I want my new seams to be on the back, and I pretty much repeated everything I did in the front. So you're gonna sew 2 times over each seam with a zigzag stitch and then cut off the excess fabric. And then you're pretty much done. I went ahead and hemmed the whole shirt also with a zigzag stitch to kind of tie everything together, and that was it.
The next clothing item is this jacket, cardigan, how's it called? And this originally belonged to my dad, but then my mom washed it too hot and now it doesn't fit him anymore, and it now fits me. Not that I usually wear clothes my size, but I thought I would take it off his hands and try to make something that I would wear. I actually like the jacket as it is already, but I really wanted to crop it a little bit. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna measure out how short I want it to be, and then I'm gonna cut off, I don't know if you can see, but the end is like stretchy and differently structured than the rest. So I'm gonna cut off the end and I'm gonna re-sew it onto the new length so that it will still look the same. So first things first, I'm gonna cut off this part of the jacket.
Then I cropped it while keeping in mind that I'm gonna add the stretchy part, so I cut it shorter than I usually would. Then I pinned it right sides together and I made sure that the seams the jacket already had lined up perfectly so that it won't be as noticeable that I re-sewn it myself.
So now that I cut it to the length I want it to be, and I pinned the stretchy part right sides together back on, I'm gonna go over with a straight stitch and then I'm gonna go back with a zigzag stitch but behind the straight stitch so that the ends won't fray out, I think. Please correct me if that's not the way to do it. Okay, on to the next one. I have this dark red dress that I bought secondhand, and I actually really like it how it is, but the dress just falls straight down and I want it to be a little bit more fitted, but I need to be careful because I don't want to add a zipper or like anything else to open it, so I'm not allowed to make it like really fitted because then I won't get in and out of the dress without opening it.
First I tried the dress left side out on and pinned it where I want to make it smaller, and I made sure that I could get out of the dress without taking out the pins.
Okay, now that I made it as even as I possibly can, I'm just gonna sew along the pins and make this curve and make sure that in the beginning and at the end where you meet the original seam, you don't meet them at an angle but rather like follow the seam first and then slightly get away from it and slightly meet it again, you know? Just so everything goes into each other like very softly. Okay, so I tried it on again and I decided that I'm gonna make the whole dress slimmer, even though I didn't want to do that in the beginning, but now it looks kind of weird because it is kind of fitted around the waist and then it gets like kind of big. So I'm gonna take around 1 centimeter of each side away and just gonna stitch straight down, and I'm gonna make it meet up where the slit starts so that I don't have to redo the slit as well. So it will go straight and then like a little bit curved to meet the slit, but I hope that you won't notice that once I wear the dress and like walk, that it's kind of like a weird shape. I really don't want to do the slits because that seems kind of complicated. Okay, so now I have this yellow dress right here and I absolutely love the color and it fits pretty well, but the only thing that I don't like is the length. It goes to right above my knees and that just looks weird. So I decided to cut it shorter and also probably make it a little bit more fitted. And the good thing about this dress is it already has a zipper, so I don't need to worry about getting in and out of the dress.
I measured how much shorter I want the dress to be, which in my case were 9 centimeters, and I gave myself a 2 centimeter seam allowance, so in the end I cut the dress 7 centimeters shorter. And I did the same thing to the second layer of fabric that my dress had. Because my dress was a bit flowy, I wanted to take away some fabric, so I tried it on left side out and marked where I would sew the dress smaller. Then I laid down the dress and drew onto it where I wanted to sew. So the triangle I created will be the part that I'm gonna take away.
So now we finally get to sewing. I don't know which way would be the correct or easiest or most logical way to do it, but I've decided to first make it more fitted and sew like all these triangles that I made and then make the hem.
I sewed along the line with a straight stitch, cut off the excess fabric, and then sewed close to the edge with a zigzag stitch to prevent the fabric from fraying. To make the hem, I folded over the fabric 2 times and ironed it to make sure it stays in place. Then I sewed along the edge with a straight stitch. Make sure you sew through all layers of fabric so the raw edge is kind of sandwiched in between the other layers and it won't fray out.
That was it with the video. I hope you're gonna go through your closet as well and give those items which have just been lying around for way too long a second chance. Don't forget to like and subscribe if you enjoyed the video, and I'm gonna see you next time. Bye!